What's up, guys? It's your boy DS, and today we're going to be talking about One Piece Odyssey. Now, I do want to give a full review, because you know some people give you a half review, they only played a couple hours. I actually played the game in its entirety. I clocked out at 29 hours. It was like 28:55, so 29 hours total of playtime. And I do have a lot of things that I really like about the game, but there are a couple of things that I didn't like, so I want to go over everything for you guys. Now, I want you guys to know this is my personal opinion. Some people may not agree, and if you guys don't agree, that's perfectly fine. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into it. The first thing I want to talk about is the story. Now, going into this, I already thought the story was going to be pretty interesting because they already made it very clear that the story was going to be original and it wasn't going to be a copy and paste from the One Piece series. So with that knowledge, I already expected something, pretty interesting whenever I first went in. After playing the game, I do want to say the story was actually very good for an original concept. They make sure to not just throw in all of the normal elements of One Piece, the series, and instead they give you a lot of different and unique factors to the game that are only in the game. One of the big key parts of the story that makes so much sense to me and just like makes the story, like the setup for the story, so amazing in my opinion, is that like at the start of the game, they go to the island and they're super strong. You know how they are. They're super strong. Everybody has all their moves, their abilities, everything. Well, during the beginning of it, they lose their memories, or a certain amount of their memory, not entirely, but they lose like a big portion of their memories. And in losing their memories, they lose the memories of how to do their moves or what their moves are, or something to that effect. So, like, basically it resets your character to level 1. Now, I feel like this is a really cool setup because, most RPG games, you're playing this character that's supposed to be super broken and OP, but you start the game, they're level 1, they're super weak. But with One Piece Odyssey, they set it up in a way where it's like, we know your character's broken, we know you're supposed to be broken, but because you lost your memories, you're not going to be broken yet. You got to go get your memories back to basically get all your moves and everything that way. Overall, I thought the story was really good. I really liked it a lot. Once again, I feel like them making an original story was a positive for the game. Next thing I want to talk about is combat. A lot of people didn't know that it was a turn-based RPG. Now, that being said, I did know that, and I have no problem with turn-based games, whether it's a mobile game, console game, whatever. I enjoy it if it's enjoyable, and One Piece Odyssey's combat was really good. I feel like they did a really great job with the combat in the sense of you get to choose who goes first or you get to choose who goes next, having characters be able to swap in or swap out whenever you really want, as long as they're in the party. The skill moves for all of the characters, I feel like all the skills were really good. I feel like the animations and combat, I feel like just everything was real fluid. I feel like everything worked really well. It looked really good. It felt snappy, like just crisp. I feel like overall the combat was just really good. Easily one of the best parts of the game, which it should be. If the combat of a turn-based RPG is not one of the best parts of the game, you are in trouble. So overall, combat was really good. I liked pretty much everything about it for the most part. So I really have no complaints as far as the combat goes. Moving on to the exploration, and I'm gonna sit here and let you guys know now, the exploration was probably one of the negatives. Now, I'm not saying having exploration was a negative. I think having exploration in this type of game was actually really well, but I feel like to a degree we were exploring way more than we should have. And the reason why I say that is because what would happen, right, and with this type of game, I don't know if it's just this type of game or what, but what would happen is we'd have like 20 minutes, or not 20 minutes, like 10 to 20 minutes of cutscenes, right, or talking, which is fine, it's a story game. But then we'd go into a dungeon or a cave or wherever, and we would be I legit would be exploring, and it's not even like me wanting to explore, I have to, right, to progress. I'm exploring for like an hour or two, right, and then it's like an hour of two or of exploring, and then I finally get to a boss fight, and then I fight for like 10 to 20 minutes. So it's like you got 10 to 20 minutes of talking and cutscenes, an hour of two of exploration, and then you got like 10 to 20 minutes of a boss fight, and then 10 to 20 minutes of a cutscene, and like that's a chapter. And it's like, like the exploration was way too much. I feel like a lot of it should have been optional, and most of it was mandatory. Now, I'm not saying that I didn't enjoy it, but a lot of times there were times where I'm like, man, I really wish I could just get on with the story. Now, with that being said, I feel like they set it up in a way where they want you to explore, so I get it. Maybe that was just a me thing, but I feel like exploring was a lot for me. Next up, I do want to talk about some of the side content that they have. If you guys didn't know, once you beat the game, you are able to like go back and fight the enemies again, like the bosses. And if you do fight the bosses again, they are much stronger, and they, you know, you can fight them like 2 times, and it's like the first time they're stronger a little bit, second time they're stronger a lot. So it's like, that's some things you can do. There are these like memory fragments or whatever that you can go into to get stuff for your team. There are, you know, side missions with like some of the townspeople or just random NPCs. So there was a decent amount of side content. It was pretty okay in my opinion. I didn't do that much. I did a couple, like, you know, here and there, but I didn't do that much for the most part. Side content was okay. I feel like it's just extra fluff onto the game. I don't think that the side content is the biggest difference maker between a good or bad game. So it was kind of whatever to me. If you guys like side content, I think you'll like this game's side content. Me personally, didn't really care for it, so I didn't do much of it. The next thing I want to talk about is the presentation. I feel like the cutscenes were amazing. Very, very beautiful cutscenes. I feel like, you know, between the cutscenes, the battle animations, like the characters, like the special moves and things like that, I feel like the game was amazing. A 10. One of the best anime games we have seen visually probably ever, right? Now, there's one thing I do want to say that is a pet peeve, and I talked about this in my first impressions. I was just like, I think it's really cool that it's all voice acted, or for the most part, most of it's voice acted. Because, you know, no one wants to just read the entire time. And then I went on to say that if they didn't have an option to make it for English, that's going to be a big negative. Well, turns out you couldn't. It was in Japanese the entire time. And I mean, I don't mind it being in Japanese because I watch anime in Japanese, but I know a lot of people don't want the game to be in Japanese. They want it to be in English. They want to be able to hear them talk in English. They don't want to read everything. So a big negative that the game was not in English to any degree, besides subtitles. You had to literally read everything. So I don't know what happened there, but yeah, outside of the language barrier, I feel like the animations, the cutscenes, dialogue, like the characters interacting with each other, the combat, the anime, everything was really, really amazing. So with that being said, I feel like most of my first impressions were the same. I really liked the game. I really enjoyed the game, whether it was the story, the combat, or whatever. As far as the exploration, going into it, I thought it was going to be a lot more fun. And coming out of it, it was just, it felt like a chore. It felt like a job for the most of it. Now, some of it was enjoyable, but for the most part, it was not. Overall, I think that it was a really good game. If I were to give it a rating, just off the top, this is not like premeditated, off the top, I'd say for a turn-based RPG, if you like those type of games, it is a like 8 out of 10. Excluding exploration. Tacking exploration on, I gotta give it like a 7 out of 10, in my opinion. But like, if we're not including the exploration, it might be a 9 out of 10. It's like an 8 or 9 without exploration. With exploration, I gotta give it like a 7, because the exploration was just very, very jarring, very bad in my opinion. I do want to say, lastly, the game had a lot of black screens, like a lot, like way more than I feel like needed to be had. That might also be put onto that 7 out of 10, because it's like, I feel like the game just should not have had that many black screens. But overall, I really did enjoy the game. I thought it was a very good game overall. If you guys want to get the game, you can. If you guys don't want to, I do have a playthrough where I cut out a lot of the fluff, or, you know, exploration and stuff. You guys can check that out yourselves. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video. Be sure to give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Comment down below. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. With that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.